Sweet, pressure's all on me. Okay. One moment. Cool. Cool. All right. Well, hello everyone. My name is Ian Shaughnessy. I go by Gerard, but I'm born and raised here in St. Louis City. I have military, sales, and photography backgrounds, and I've been a professional photographer for over 5 years. I'm aspiring to be a full stack developer at Savvy Coders, and I have a bachelor's in entrepreneurship from Webster University, which I got in under 4 years. Growing up, I always knew I wanted to be in the military. I joined the Navy with the intention of working on submarines, doing the work nobody wanted to do. But my service ended early due to medical complications, actually almost exactly a year ago. I'm actually 5 days past that mark. But the lessons I've learned in the Navy have made me a battle-hardened worker and ready to take on the world. But as I said before, currently I'm a photographer. I walk around with these all the time. I've had a camera in my hands since I was a kid, and the device has always fascinated me. I started taking photos for people in 2015 in high school, but I really didn't earn my first dollar until my second or third year in college. Photography has taken me all around the Midwest. For all sorts of cool projects. My claim to fame is working for the Angel Band Project. It's a beast of a nonprofit organization here in St. Louis. And when they spoke at the UN, one of my photos was used during the speech. So that's my only published photo. I always intend to have a camera on me no matter where I go. I've met the most amazing people in my life through this skill, but I intend to do the same thing now with computer programming. As I said before, I'm aspiring to be a full stack developer. And I want to take my career in a direction where I can work with mobile applications involving cameras, possibly front end or back end. So because of my obvious obsession with photography, the project I'm working on for my capstone at Savvy Coders is a website for an economical and convenient film development company. What I'm willing to bring to any future employer is discipline, creativity, and a smile into the workplace. And because of this, I believe I can impact any business in a positive way. And let me show you what I've created so far. Give me just a moment to get the windows correct, because Zoom always goes crazy. Right. Cool. So, welcome to Slow Lab. Slow Lab is a little brainchild of my buddy Toby and I. We're proud to offer the cheapest film development service nationwide while maintaining the highest quality development and scanning offered by our competitors. And just in case anybody doesn't know how film is processed or how film is created or scanned or whatnot, I'll explain that really quick. Sorry, just one moment. There we go. So, film, when you develop it, obviously you're going to pick up one of these. This is a roll of 120, or you got a roll of 35. This is what we're all really used to seeing. And yeah, you take the photos, snap them off, and you'll end up with a exposed roll of film. You take that into a dark room and you string out that film, you put it on a spool, all in pitch black, and then you start developing it. You put developer in, wash it. Then you fix it, that stops the reaction. Then you wash that, and then you let it dry. After it dries, you're gonna take something, I don't know if y'all can see this very well, but something like this. This is 6 frames from a roll of film that I just took, and you'll put it into a scanner, and you'll scan it on your computer. So essentially, that's all that the business is going to do. Our target market would be people who can't afford film products normally, because the average roll of film costs about $12 to develop with the darkroom and many other big companies. But what I've found is that in my bathroom, I can develop a roll of film for 25 to 30 cents. So the price definitely can come down. So the target would be about $3 a roll. And the way that we accomplish this, if you can see my screen, let me make this a little bigger. The way we accomplish this is obviously the first step. You're going to fill out what type of scans or prints you would like with your developed film. You mail the film to us in the first 2 weeks of each month. and those will be called drops, film drops. The second 2 week, or the latter 2 weeks of the month, we develop and scan all of the film and mail it back to you. If you send us a USB, we load the scans onto there. If you don't want it scanned, then don't worry. And if you don't have a USB, we put all that stuff up in Dropbox and give you a secure link. Afterwards, people can review, obviously, and we'd love for you to come back soon. As you can see here on the website, when you hover over, I added some hover features. Obviously, when you go over, this will turn green. So the orange will turn green. Down here, green will turn orange. I just thought that was an interesting touch. Down here would be the social links. Currently don't have any social media for this company, but these will just take you to the home pages of those respective companies at the moment. In the future, obviously would want to make those social accounts and have you connected. Over here, there's a contact page. This is connected to a form spree, goes directly to my email at the moment. You can fill out all your information here and you can hit send and it will just send it. Thanks for submitting the form. Here it would be a gallery. Right now, this is just a bunch of photos I've taken, but we want to showcase customer work here. So we'd ask permission, get people to select which photo that they would like us to showcase. And then just like on the home page here, where you hover over and these words pop up, what I want to do in the future is hover over here and have full description pop up showing like who the photographer was, where it was taken, what was the inspiration, what camera was used, what film was used, all sorts of things. So that way I'm not only building a client base, I'm building a community. And finally, then there's the order submittal area. And this is actually what my API is connected to. So you can take your, let's say color 35, that's what this film is. You want to edit one of these, you want scans for it. And then you want to, if you're including a USB drive or not, let yes or no, it'll submit and it'll take you to this page. I need to still use CSS and fix this up, but there are previous orders. And I do have a bug right now with the 2 drop downs about they come back as undefined. That's also something that I will fix in the future. So that would be the whole of the website. And you might be wondering how I got this far. Well, Savvy Coders taught us a whole bunch of things. They taught us, well, first they got us Agile certified. And I kind of learned the process of how a developer is supposed to work, how the higher ups are going to see you and what kind of organization I might be working in or how I need to organize to be successful. To do that, I used Jira for my project. And there were Jira boards. We made sprints. We prioritized backlog items, created user stories. I used Agile basically to bring myself closer to the mindset I need for my future career. And it helped me a lot in class and it helped me a lot with this project. Also, we had Scrum. So at one point I was a product owner. It was great to learn how a manager of a certain team is supposed to watch over the people they're responsible for. I thought that was really interesting. Some obstacles I ran into, CSS was a big one. I wasn't really sure why things weren't working sometimes because CSS doesn't give you any errors. It just doesn't work. So that was a little bit of a hurdle to get over. My API, it's connected to MongoDB. And so that's a database. And getting that up and running was the matter of one letter. Instead of the order, I needed to write orders and then it would have found it. So I was stuck on that S for a little bit. So that was fun. And then lastly, I had a hard time with scope in the beginning. Didn't understand why some code affected other code. And sometimes it didn't, even though they look really similar. But once I got over that hurdle too, it was great. Something I'm really proud of with accomplishing from Savvy Coders is that, I completed my undergrad in under 4 years, switching majors twice. I joined the military. I got trained on how to do nuclear reactors, and I know how to drive a submarine, and I know how to use radar, and all that stuff never really bothered me. I just kind of learned it and went through it. Here, the hands-on portion of things got taken out of. Even though you have a keyboard, I can't touch the code. I can't really see it working as it's working. So I would say this was probably one of the harder things I've ever learned or tried to get used to. If anyone's interested, we learned JavaScript, HTML, CSS, MongoDB, Node, Express, Netlify, a lot of other things. But what it all started with was paper. And I don't know if you can see this very well, but there's a really poor drawing. I'm not a good drawer. That's why I'm a photographer, not a painter. But this was going to be the developing page where you would submit your order. And as you can see, it doesn't look the same at all. And that was something that I had to grow from, was like growing from the things that I could actually, drawing a wireframe is easy, but getting it on the board is not as much. What I want to do in the future is some of the things that I mentioned before, but also here I would like to have maybe a price calculator, and it could also show you the savings, and maybe create an API to actually scan other film development websites and show you the current pricing of their scans and how we beat them. And the only thing you have to sacrifice is the time it takes, because we're slow lab and we don't rush perfection. Of course, I didn't stick the landing. That's my capstone. Thank you for your time.
What a great job. I love the concept. Does anybody have any questions for Gerard? Okay. If there are no questions,
I was busy unmuting. Can I ask him one?
Oh, absolutely.
So Gerard, you got your hands in a lot of different things. Obviously, you learned a lot, and good job with it. What was the part of it that was most intriguing to you? Was it developing front end? Was it making integration work? Was it back end database? What did you enjoy working on the most?
I would say right now, I don't know enough of anything to know what I'm going to excel in, but I'd say what I'm interested in is definitely the like UX UI front end stuff. Like I really liked seeing the website come together and look how I wanted it to look. I'm sure if I got better at CSS, it would look even better. But I would say once I understood CSS, that was the most fun part for me, because I really like the visuals. Like I really like marketing. Part of what I do in photography is I actually help people like bolster their LinkedIn and social media profiles, including Tinder. So I like making things look good. So yeah, so I would say that was the most intriguing thing. It just took me a little while to start excelling in it. So
okay. Great, thanks.
Yeah.
Great question. All right, moving on, we're going to have Casey up next whenever you're ready.
Okay, I am ready. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Casey Selby. I live in Huntington Beach, California. I was born and raised in Arlington, Tennessee, and I graduated from the University of Memphis with a bachelor's degree in information technology. I was a competitive cheerleader starting from the time that I was 8 years old until college, so I actually didn't have much spare time to discover my passion for technology. In college, I was unsure of my future career path, but I knew that I wanted to move to California, so I ended up changing my major to IT, as tech jobs are in high demand. After graduating college, I moved to California. I worked in support and EDI for a medical software company for a little bit over 5 years, and it was here that I fell in love with working in tech. I spent a lot of time working with software developers, and I immediately became intrigued. If I couldn't resolve an issue, I would have to send it over to the development team, and finally I decided that I wanted to be able to resolve these issues on my own. I have a friend who graduated from Savvy Coders, and she encouraged me to enroll in the full stack web development program. During these last few weeks, I realized that I've never been more excited about my future. For my capstone project, I created a web application that helps couples discover different date activities. While living in California, my family and friends come out to visit often. So I've spent a lot of time researching fun things to do, exciting things to do. So I just wanted to find a solution to save time. I plan to continue to build out my application, but let me show you what I've created so far. Okay, so I started off creating a wireframe to get a visual of what I wanted my app to look like. While working on my project, I used what I learned from completing my IC Agile certification. I used Jira for planning my project and prioritizing. I participated in Scrum ceremonies such as daily sprints and sprint reviews. I took on the role of product owner, leading the sprint planning and sprint retrospectives. And I'll go ahead and show you my web application now. So here is the web application that I created. As you can see, it looks very similar to the wireframe. I kept the design simple and the color scheme neutral, so it's very user-friendly and easy to navigate. The color scheme doesn't take away from the images, so I just wanted to focus on the images. So we've got the logo at the top left, and then the navigation bar, the main content, and then the footer at the bottom. And then in the middle of the page, if you click on this button, you can view different date activities. You can click next to go to the next date activity. And then you can also click back and you can go back to the previous activity. You can also select all at the top to view all date activities by category. And then you can also, if you scroll down to the footer, you can click About Us. And you can just read a little bit about the product and why I created it. If you scroll down, you can click Submit a Review. And then you can see here that I've created a form. So we'll go ahead and fill out this form. And then you'll just type your name, how likely you are to recommend the date deck to a friend. So we'll put 10, very likely. And then what type of date do we go on? We'll just put an outdoors date. And then we'll describe our experience. We had a great time. And then lastly, what date categories are you interested in? We can select one or we can select more than one. And then we'll go ahead and click Submit Review. And then for this form, I created an API, which is hosted in Heroku. And then when we click Submit, we're going to be routed to the reviews page. And then so all of this information was saved and stored in MongoDB, which is going to be the database server. So we can see all the responses here from that form. And then also so it navigates to the reviews page, which is up here. You can also click on it here. And then as I mentioned earlier, I do plan to continue building out my application. I plan to add filters for customization and more information to each activity page. A roadblock or challenge that I faced was having to start my project over halfway through. I had my original idea was a little bit too similar to an already existing application. So I just wanted to create something that was more unique. I am most proud of stepping outside of my comfort zone, learning something new, and being able to create this web application. I'm so excited to continue building off of what I've learned so far and begin my future in development. And that's all I have for you. So thank you for your time.
Okay, great job. I love the visuals on that. Does anybody have any questions for Casey?
Yeah, I was actually, oh, sorry.
Sorry, no, go right ahead.
I was just going to ask if you could tell me more about the API that you said you created with Heroku.
Yeah, that's hosted on Heroku. So when we submit that form, we are making a call to the API, and then we're gonna save and store the data in MongoDB, and then we'll get a request back. And then it's gonna send a response back to have the data displayed on the reviews page.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did you get it, Jen? Was that good? Okay. Will, did you have a question?
I did. Casey, what part of the process did you find most interesting? Was it in solving the problems of your connectivities? Was it in building the user experience? Was it in, wireframing? Where were you ultimately most engaged or most interested in? Maybe it was the whole thing. I'm just trying to get a little bit about what interested you about the process.
Yeah, for sure. I would say I was most interested in putting all the pieces together. So I guess all of it. It's challenging. It was challenging to learn and just being able to put everything together and seeing how it all works. Because if, one thing's missing, it's not going to work. So yeah, I guess putting it all together, tying it all together and making it work.
Okay, so then the counter to that question would be, what did you find the most challenging? Which part of it did you find the most difficult to do?
Honestly, the most difficult was with design, figuring out what colors, what goes where, which images. I just overthink everything and I overanalyze everything. So
Yeah.
just making a decision. So finally, I just would be like, okay, that's enough. Like, I don't care what the font looks like at this point. I need to move on.
That's great. I've never met a developer who didn't arrive at that same conclusion. So that's great. It was a great demonstration. Thanks, Casey.
Thank you.
Okay, Abhinav, did you have a question?
Yeah, firstly, a great presentation, Casey. So I know when it comes to engineering, there's always a back end and a front end. The CSS for the front end is clean. So how was your experience with front end?
Brendan, it took a minute to get it. I created a grid display for the all view. So with all the images, all the data activities by category. So that was a little tricky learning how to set up that grid, but it was pretty fun once I got the hang of it.
Makes sense. Yeah. And at some point, did you feel that, okay, I've been doing things redundant, so I can use a function or create once and use it multiple times? Was there any scenarios like that?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
So what I was trying to say is, at some point, did you feel that I can probably do it multiple times, like create one particular function, like a create an image and automate the image into various places or something like that, which would make things easier? Was there anything like that has come when you're trying to develop things?
I'm so sorry. It's like, so I keep getting these notifications on my laptop.
Oh, okay. So what I was trying to ask is, so when it comes to CSS, right, there's a lot of things that goes inside, like you're familiar with it. So on the grid side, when you're there might be multiple images and all, and there's always a better approach to do it. So how did you start when you're trying to do it?
How did I start? So I looked up, I think I was on MDN. And so I was just using resources from MDN on how to set up the grid. So first I just set up I started with just the rows and the columns. So I just started with maybe like 4 or 5 rows or columns just to have an idea and then I started adding content to each. And then I would kind of move it around and figure out where I wanted it and how, like, the size of everything. So yeah.
Good work. Yeah.
Thank you.
Clean approach, so yeah.
Thank
I
you.
think everybody likes your website, Casey. I don't know if you could see all the chats, but everybody was like, yes, be like, so go down and look when you're done, go down and look. So great job.
Appreciate it.
Okay, we're gonna have Mason up next whenever you're ready.
Hello, my name is Mason McCullum. I'm 19 years old and born and raised in St. Louis and a graduate of Trinity Catholic High School. I'm a recent graduate of Savvy Coders Bootcamp as a full stack web developer, where I also became Agile certified and used these skills to help get rid of an old habit of skipping around what I needed to do on my work and make it a straight line of objectives to complete by using Jira. I've been interested in coding since I was in the 4th grade and I wanted to be a video game developer at the time. Even though I didn't have a personal computer, I would write down code in my notebook during computer class and bring it home with me. My project is an application for people who play trading card, tabletop, and other games to talk and meet if they don't have anyone to talk or meet with locally. Let me show you what I've made. First, I'd like to show you my flow chart that I made. It's slightly modified from its original design. where I made it so you can go from the home page to a forms page to post what you wanted, or to an open chat room to create a chat and join a chat and make a chat for someone else to join, as well as a friends list to chat with, and a profile so you can that you can customize for yourself and on your own. And here is the actual site called Board Buddy. First, I have my weather API on my homepage, which will be used so people can tell what the weather is like of a neighboring city that they might visit the card shop of, as well as a game bar or any other place that may be hosting some sort of tournament for a game that they play. Here's an example of a friends list, which in the future I plan to make it so you can visit their profiles or see their recent posts of what they have. Here we have a profile, which in the future I plan to make it so you can customize it by adding a background, a personal picture of yourself or something that you like, and a customizable username that can change just about any time as long as you're using the site. And here we have the chats where you can create a chat. You can choose the subject of a chat. So you can say cards. You can name the chat as well as choose your own a temporary username for if you are using the site anonymously and don't want to have a set account just yet. You can type it in, and then when you get someone to join your site, you could hit the go button and have a conversation with someone as long as they're both with it. I also have a forms post where you can post questions, discussions, or rants about whatever you want to talk about, whether it be something that made you angry in a game or a question that you had in the game, or you just want to talk about a direction something's going. You can also add in profiles, pictures, audios, videos, and GIFs to go with your post. For if you want, for example, and then it will show up on the home page. And that's all I have for my site to show.
Great job, Mason. I don't know if anybody else heard, but he is a recent high school graduate and has accomplished so much in these 12 weeks. Does anybody have a question for Mason?
So Mason, this is Will again. Great presentation on there. Did I see a sign in process there? It looked like there was a login process.
There is, but I couldn't make it so that I wasn't able to make it so you can make your own personal login information. So it's just there as an example for right now.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay, yeah, all right, thank you. It's a good presentation. I liked it. What was your biggest challenge in exercising through this project?
My biggest challenge, I'd say keeping up with what some of the new information that I learned while trying to not get them mixed up with any old and outdated information I've learned, because I've taken coding in the past and know that some of it's outdated, but it might come up to me as a sort of memory.
Okay, great.
I've got one for Mason. Mason, this is Dave. How you doing?
Good.
You did a flow chart.
Yes.
Nobody does flow charts. Where'd you learn to flow chart?
In school, I used to do flow charts a lot for some projects. Usually, I believe it would usually be, I think, science class that I'd do a flow chart or something.
Well, good for you. That was good to see. I mean, I'm an old school guy. That's the way I learned it. It's how it used to be before all the new technology. Nice to see you have that on there. Good for you.
Abhinav, did you have a question? Yep.
Yeah, firstly, I would say it's a good presentation. I like the thought process behind it. and the flowchart was impressive. So, yep, I would just want to wish you luck with that.
Thank you.
Okay, if nobody else has any questions, we are going to move to Delfino. Whenever you're ready.
Alrighty. All right, so I'll go ahead and start. Hi, my name is Delfino Farfan. I have a background in education, leadership, and web development. I attended Texas A&M University, where I received my bachelor's degree in leadership, education, and development with a minor in sports management. I began my career in education and I was seeking a new challenge. I decided that web development was the career field that interested me, so I took on the challenge of learning what it takes to succeed within the industry. I have always been fascinated by technology and realized a career in web development would allow me to take on a new challenge while using my foundational leadership skills. Leadership has always been important to me, and I believe it's the foundation for any successful team. With both my leadership and web development education, I can bring a unique perspective and set of skills to any team. I enjoy fantasy football, so for my capstone project, I've created a metrics-based website that can help predict the level of success incoming NFL rookies will experience throughout their career. The website will allow users to receive more information about incoming NFL rookies, and that will in turn allow them to make wiser, more informed decisions when selecting players during their draft. So let's take a look at what I've created. All right, let me go ahead and start sharing my screen. So when I began this journey on learning what it takes to become a full stack web developer, one of the first things we learned was the Agile method. And when we learned the Agile method, we began implementing Agile methods within our cohort. So participating in Agile ceremonies such as daily stand-up and Scrum and whatnot, or Scrum ceremony, sorry, and doing daily stand-up. And one of my roles when we were doing daily stand-up was actually taking on the Scrum Master role. And in that role, I got to help facilitate conversation between product owner and developer. And that was a unique hat to put on, just because it was facilitating conversation and making sure that it was organic and always going, and ensuring that if one person had a problem, that we all kind of chipped in and tried to help problem solve. Or if there was like some kind of roadblock or you weren't really quite sure what the direction was, we would kind of put our thinking caps on and collab and try to help push that person in the right direction, you know? So once I was done being the Scrum Master, my next role was being a developer for the rest of the cohort. And being a developer was a different situation. It was a little less stressful not having to facilitate conversation, but it was still enjoyable to be on the other side of that and see kind of how someone else takes on that role and maybe how my leadership differed from theirs and just learning from their styles and whatnot. So that was unique. And one of the other Agile methods I implemented was using my Jira board to make out my roadmap and whatnot for my project. So as we can see, I did 4 distinctive sprints. My first sprint was to get my wireframe and my flow chart and just like the very foundation of my project going. And then I began creating my HTML and CSS. And when I did that at first, my website was not a single page application, but rather functioning as a multi-page application. But then I continued on the project, and around here in this sprint began polishing the site, converting it to a single page application and whatnot, and completing more research for it. And then I wrapped it all together with my backend work and creating APIs. So continuing on with my project, I've created a flowchart where we can see my original idea was going from the homepage to a search bar, and that search bar would verify if the user had access to the player profile page. And there would be essentially a login at that point because I wanted to implement that the user had verified access to these databases. So essentially having an API key. And the only thing they wouldn't have to have premium access to access any material on my stuff would be in my About Me page. Continuing on, we can see one of my original wireframes for my About Me page. My original idea was just having the search bar and everything. So my navigation would travel to every website or to every view that I had, my header, logo, and this nav bar as well. And the only thing that would change would be the main content here. Continuing on, I have a product vision board. And this is another one of my Agile methods, or one of the things I learned within Agile, was just kind of putting everything out there so I could visually see what I kind of wanted to do with this website. So my vision was to create an easy to use website that allowed the user to make more informed fantasy football decisions. And this will result in winning more fantasy matchups in the long run, which is exactly what we want to do in fantasy football if you ever played. So the target group is casual fantasy football players, which would be most of the fantasy football audience. But then there's also the niche group of people that like to play Dynasty, Campus to Canton, Devi Mode, our best ball, and there's many more beyond that. So just really making it open to anyone that really enjoys fantasy football. And who really needs this? Well, there's an estimated 60 million fantasy football players as of 2019, and Dynasty Nerds is one of the premier fantasy football sites, and they only have about roughly 50,000 users based on my estimate, and that on average is 0.00008% of fantasy football players accessing this special like metric data that'll help them make more informed decisions. So that tells me you essentially have the market completely open still at this point in time. So I feel like it's a very big market that is available for more products and whatnot. So continuing on to my business goal. So the business goal would be to reach as many fantasy football players as possible. Of course, our competitors would be that big Dynasty Nerds company, ESPN, and any other fantasy football platform. So we would bring in revenue as well by charging users for premium features or certain things in the back end, of course. And the biggest cost would just be how much time I put into it personally, since I'm the only one working on it at this point. And channels would be, at this point, just word of mouth or going through social media. So let me go ahead and show you what I've created. So this is my website. So I was able to implement my logo on the bottom as I originally had intended. And then I have, this is my homepage view. It states exactly the purpose of the website. We have a button here that you can hover. We have an API being called, and I'll just go ahead and just show you the different views before I get into smaller details about the website. There it goes. Okay, so this is my FFF score page, and this is kind of the backbone of the website. And this just simply stands for FAR-FAN Fantasy Football Score. And this score is based on an algorithm that is a future state still at this point. So these numbers for the time being are just placeholders for demonstration purposes. But what makes this unique is it takes the film grade and the metric side of football and kind of combines them into one number that would spit out a computer generated number that would be more consistent, and there would be less variancy from person to person. And I mean, there's no human errors essentially in this, it would be a long-term goal for this algorithm, because we're not putting in our human error and our biases towards what we see on the field when we think of a player. Maybe we're a fan of the team and whatnot. So that kind of score is more of our film grade score. So a film grade score is when you watch film tape, or you're just watching a game in general, of an athlete perform and how you believe they played comparatively to their peers on the field. So for example, Bijan Robinson's what you would call a generational talent. So he would get a 10 film grade just because of how much he wows you when he's playing and whatnot. Whereas perhaps on the FFF score page, comparatively, he's not really as great as he is. Maybe a running back 20 years ago actually statistically and metrically performed better than he did. And so that's what makes it unique. And then we also have our metrics view as well. And this is just another way to showcase data that we pull into this FFF score at the end of the day, kind of showing the user what we use and whatnot. This is my About Us page, a photo of me and a little bit more information about myself, a little testimonials page, and then a contact form. So starting on the home page, when we hover over this testimonials button and we click on it, it'll actually take us to our testimonials views once it loads. And then going back to that homepage just to demonstrate the CSS that I've created for that hover button. So I made a test button ID, and I use the in that test button ID, I then use a hover selector, and we can see that I made the transition take 1 second, and I made it a little bit slower so we could see that it functions as intended. And this API is being pulled using my code in my index.js. And we can see that being pulled right here using our view home and then using get to pull that response and whatnot, use it in our router, within our router hook function and whatnot. So continuing on, The next thing that I really had to do, because the finding the weather API was easier to do. The next thing I needed to figure out was how I was going to pull in data into my website. And there was a wide range of options, I felt like. But the one I wanted to do was I wanted an API, and there was no API that had these metrics or these numbers that I really wanted these players to have and to display on my website. So I decided myself, I was going to make these separate APIs so I could call in exactly what I wanted to and have the variables be consistent with what I had originally envisioned. So what I actually did was, going back to my code, I had to make another else if statement. And now we can see the view if it equals, or if it's absolutely F score, it'll then get that, or it'll then get the API and then respond with the score and then respond with the data and store that within my scores folder or within my store folder. And then I will show you a quick example of how that functions. So we used, I ran npm run app watch. Sorry, words are a little difficult right now, I guess. And that's a script that we actually created within my package.json. So it actually activates Nodemon. It tells us to watch the server and whatnot. And we can see that that's running successfully down here, listening on port 40, and it's connected to the back end, which is my MongoDB. And we can see right now I have my Insomnia, which is what I've been using to create this database. So I've been using a post method, and I can send it. We can see that it successfully sent it. And now if we go to my MongoDB, we can see the last thing that was entered was Marvin Mims. If we refresh that, it should tell us that Kayshawn Boot was the last prospect entered. It's coming, I promise. And then there it is. Kayshawn is there. And then once we go to our website and we hit that refresh button, it will also, there it goes. It'll also tell us Kayshawn boot. And this functions the way it does because of a continuous deployment that I have from the backend and whatnot. So one of the things that I am very proud of was just being able to get this product to the point where it visually is. I myself have not been a artistic kind of person. I've never been one to put pen to paper and draw anything out and make it look great. But so this was a challenge in itself, but it was great to go through those challenges and really see what I can create once I put my mind to it and I'm able to implement it over time and whatnot and practice and getting better at it. One of the things that continuing on. So some of the technologies that I used, of course, was JavaScript, HTML, CSS, deploying my backend to MongoDB, or putting my backend onto MongoDB and deploying onto Heroku, and then also deploying my website to Netlify as well. And so that was just a lot of fun. But yes, that just about wraps up my presentation. Thank you.
Great job. That makes me want to play fantasy football, right?
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions for Delfino?
Good presentation, Delfino. The one thing I really liked in the presentation is the way you explained all the technicalities, like how you're connecting to MongoDB, how the CSS was present, and what hooks you are using. I see that you're also using the ES6 syntax too, arrow functions and all. So it was good. So if I'm coming from a non-technical background, I would know how each of them is connected, and it's very in detail. So yeah, that's good.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All right, great job. Okay, let's move on then. Our next presenter is going to be Malik, whenever you're ready.
Hi, my name is Malik McCollum. I'm 22 years old and ready to get into the field of full stack development. Before I got to this point, I started off taking the class in the first semester of my junior year. This course taught me how to use Swift programming. Swift programming was a language that is mainly used for Apple products. Before completing this course, I would start another one with the color-coded kids learning the basics of JavaScript pre-AS6. After completing these courses, I would take another one with the color-coded kids in the summer. During this program, I was able to completely build an app that I sadly did not have access to, where the basis of it was to do drug awareness, things like the DARE program. After this, I would go on to take a cybersecurity class at Forest Park Community College. During this class, I would learn how to connect modems with routers and use IP addresses to go with the computer. Finally, after this, I would go on to take full set development with Savvy Coders, learning. And now my application is one to get the opinion of an average gamer in a central location and hear what any given person has to say. Let me show you what I have. To start off, these are my wireframes that I had drawn. Initially, this is not how it turned out. I'm going to work on that in the future. But this was going to be the home page where I would have the games on the up here and having the function of a list so you can go into different varieties of the review. So when you click on one of the games, it would be, you go to it, like if I wanted to talk about the issues with the game, I would have a reply, and then just every reply would be like that. And it would be a rinse and repeat. So that was the initial plan. And this is one of my struggles that I want to talk about, was working the back end to make sure I had all my stuff in my routers, just to like syntax and make sure everything was downloaded. So if anything wasn't working, I think once I had to delete something and then re-download it to get the current version because it wasn't running in localhost. So that was an issue that I did not figure out on my own and figured out in class with the teacher. So onto my site. Here's the homepage. Oh, no, sorry. This is my homepage, Donkey Talk. This is the basis of where everyone's gonna come see it first. So to start off, the first game I picked was Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. It's a somewhat popular board game that I think a lot of people are into. So when you come here, you just see a small description of what the game is, and then you have an image so you can relate something to what goes on. Then I did the same thing for Honor. This game was it's a little more graphic, but it's easily visual to see what's going on. One of the functions that I really like to have added was a suggestion tab, so that way you can add a game that you want to see. Say you want to see Dungeons and Dragons. The submission is not working currently. That's something I plan to get working. I want to have it sent to me. But that's the end of that's my capstone right now.
Great job, Malik. Again, another really, really young person that worked really hard in this boot camp to learn these skills. Does anybody have any questions for Malik?
I have a
Well-
quick one. Sorry, I was having trouble unmuting. Malik, what was your favorite part about this presentation? I know you said you struggled a little bit in the beginning when you had to re-download, but what was your favorite part that you saw finally come to fruition?
I think my favorite part that I saw was seeing it actually run as a full functioning spa for the first time. That was a very exciting moment.
Yeah, love that. Thank you.
I got a question for Malik. It kind of applies to everybody a little bit. I'm wondering how much you got help from other people in your cohort to help you get through some of these challenges. He's laughing. Something's good.
I did get a lot of help. My brother's in the cohort as well, so
Good.
it helped to have that family support.
Nice. I was gonna
Good
ask
job.
if you guys were brothers or anything like
Right, Mason and Malik.
that.
Right? Okay, all right. Well, we have 2 left. So great job, Malik. Let's move on to John whenever you're ready.
Hello, everyone. I'm John. Sorry about that, a little under the weather today. So let me resume. Hello, everyone. I'm John, and I'm currently a aspiring full stack developer through Savvy Coders. A little bit about me is I come from a background of team leadership and some corporate training. And some backstory on me as a child, I loved video games, especially Nintendo. And that love of video games translated to my interest in tech. So my first experience with coding was while I was in high school, where I studied HTML, C++, and some JavaScript my junior and senior years. I later attended Florissant Valley Community College, but after my second year of college, I determined that college was not the path for me, so I had dropped out. But my interest in technology remains strong. I currently manage a podcast, well, it's now defunct now, called Double Tap Movie Critics. And prior to enrolling in Savvy Coders, I maintained an interest in coding through self-study. And what I'm seeing now is that every industry has either been redesigned or influenced by technology. And so in order to, while pursuing a career with a growing tech company, with the skills I've obtained in Savvy Coders, I'm going to be equipped with the necessary skills to maintain a viable career candidate and stay adaptable to rapidly changing industries. So while I was enrolled in Savvy Coders, my capstone was to create a movie randomizer to help users find high quality picks to either buy or stream, which I'll be more than happy to share with you right now. Okay, so this is the kind of the home page for my website, which is the working title is right now Find a Flick. So I'm noticing when you use sites like Netflix or different things, some of them don't really have like a random button to pick movies. Netflix does, but sometimes the quality is kind of spotty. So the kind of vision for it came to try and help people pick better movies. So I'm the kind of person who I like to own my media physically. So I wanted to include links and resources on where you can actually own the media. So it's going to have links like to Amazon or different places. So let me give a little background before we go into it. So the line, I couldn't get the lines to show up. So I made like a wireframe for my page, And I did a flow charts. We want to start off here at the home page. Then your link bar is going to have you get the movies page, the About Us page, the Contact Us, and then it's a page I made for movie genres. So how it works is you go to the movies page, you put in your information, and it'll give you a random movie as a result. So in the initial stages, this is how I wanted the page to look from the start. It's going to include the home page, the About Us, Contact Us, movies, movie genres. So the Jumbotron, find a movie button, the footer page, which as you can see, a lot of that was managed to be maintained while I was doing the project. So let me move this, no, wrong thing. Sorry. So once that was complete, so this is how it works. So you'll go to your home page, then you can go to this button right here that's going to say get a ticket. Then after you do the get a ticket, you can select the genre film that you want. Then you're also able to go ahead and select the rating that you want. So after you do that, it clicks get submissions and the result shows up. Now, let me show you just a little bit of some code and kind of back end things going on. Right now, according to my tabs here, I haven't been able to get it to display. So that will be future state kind of work, which it'll display and then I'll generate it to where it randomly picks results. So right now we see on our back end and our dev tools, we are able to pull arrays and we're able to pull different information on the movies. So we're able to get the original title of the movie, an overview of it, and the release date, which I'm going to use those results with a random function to pull things up for the users. So let's take a look back. Let's go to our home page. We'll go to our About Us page, which is just a little overview about myself, telling you that what this originally was planned for was kind of to be like a social media kind of site for people to kind of talk about movies and share things with each other. But then I noticed there were things like Letterboxd and different things I may be competing with. So right now I'm trying to figure out how I can get the full social media functionality to kind of compete with that. So, and you have our contact us page, which this page here, I'm going to demonstrate, connected directly to FormSpree. So if you have anything that you say we could improve our site on, any suggestions, anything like that, we want to be very user friendly and open to feedback. So this, thank you. So form was submitted. So now that takes it right to my FormSpree for submissions. This is a brief page that's explaining movie genres. And the reason why I made the site very simplistic looking is because I want to eventually fully develop it to a mobile app. Because a lot of time when people want to search for films or things, they kind of just want to touch a button or two on their phone, get a nice suggestion, then just go to the appropriate streaming service. So for people who may be unfamiliar with certain genres, want to try new things, I attached a YouTube video explaining what film genres are. It's a very informative video. So now let's go back to the main function, which is the find a film. So right now, that's what we're working on in that's what's being worked on right now. And what I did to get the project going was I've located an API key. I used one site. The API key from Rapid API wasn't a very good one. So then I switched over to the internet, no, not the internet, the movie database, which as we can see right here, this is the API key. So we have our .env file, our API key here. Then we have our input list, which gets you the value of genre. Then we have the input list right here, which gives you the value of the rating. And right now we have the get function with Axios. And after you get it, it console logs the response. From the store file, it gets you the movies, the results, and the data. So that's what I was doing with the API key. So now let's go back right here. So let's just look back at a little of the agile method. So as I was making the project, we were going off the agile method, which I really incorporated, as you can see from the roadmap, like the site needs to be laid out. Then I had it set here where we had to, oh, why is it doing that? Where we had to do the wireframes for it. We had to select the color palettes. I was originally coding a search bar in the original stage, but that changed. Then we were working on the JavaScript functionality, the HTML coding for the capstone pages, adding the capstone, getting the API key. So this is just because I'm very process oriented. So this is how I was kind of keeping pace with myself to make sure everything was submitted properly. So right now, even though the functionality for the randomizer hasn't happened yet, the greatest pride I take right into it right now is the fact that the API key is able to pull results and it's able to call the information. But right now for future state, we'll focus on getting it to post, and future state will focus on probably making it more social media active right now. So as of right now, at this moment in time, that concludes my presentation. Now I'm going to open the floor for any questions anyone may have.
Great job. Does anybody have any questions for John?
John, could you share a little bit about the various technologies you use beyond the API? You've got JavaScript there. Did you do anything with database interaction and things like that?
Oh, yes. So I use JavaScript, which was for the functionality. There was the API key, of course. Then we use CSS to kind of give the site its look and kind of touch it up, which CSS, I know some may say CSS isn't really that favorable because when you run into errors, it doesn't really show you, but actually, as far as the site building portion goes, I actually kind of really enjoy doing the CSS. It allows me to be a little more creative and free flowing. And then throughout the cohort, we learned how to do MongoDB. We learned how to do Heroku. And then we even uploaded some of our projects to Netlify so other people can use and view them.
Cool. Great, thanks.
You're very welcome.
Okay, All right, great job. So last but never least, we have Sam, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Hi, my name is Samuel. I have a background in web design. Always been a visual person. I got interested in web design through my research on how to start a business. Always wanted to create my own website. My first time I made a website was my senior year. I find UI and UX intriguing because it focuses on the experience of the end users, which gives the designer an end user perspective. This helps you expand and explore new ways to present products and give a welcoming and valued experience for the end user. I'm currently attending the full stack web development bootcamp at Savvy Coders. The goal is to expand my skills to better approach all the challenges that might come in the future. Speaking about the future, I plan to create a career with the knowledge I gained from Savvy Coders. I've come to enjoy learning new skills, which motivated me to create the Capstone project. It's about providing value in a form of education for everybody and giving opportunity for teachers to share their knowledge and make a living. The website will be providing courses for students and certification to start the career. Let me show you what I created. And here it is. So this is the homepage, Your Course to Success. This gives you a brief introduction of what we do, what the website is about, what you gain, what value it is. And these are the options of the websites. And this is a small introduction. You can treat it as a trailer for a movie, if you will. For anybody that does not know what the certain course is or will be revolved around, this is what covers it right here. And these are the courses right here. More categories right here. And this is the footer. We want to keep the end users retention. That's why we have these quick links right here. You can navigate easily so they can have a little bit more time to find the value of this website. And this is the bio. This is about us. This will tell you everything about us. You got any questions, why you should work with us. And this is the teacher page. Right here, you can create a course. Let me demonstrate. On the network, where is it? Information right here. Subject. And then we click the submit search, go to network. You can see these are the courses right here that are made. These right here, which is of course connected by MongoDB. And this is where all our teachers will be displayed. And the footer right here for quick navigation, easy access. And all our courses, these are where all the courses are. And of course, we have a little introduction so you know what you're getting into before you click. These are many options right here. Design, footer, and login right here. You can input your information. This is sound, email, sound. And your message. We're gonna pretend these wonderful letters mean something. And then FormSprint will send me an email and I'll get back to you. And this is our contact page right here. Same thing, same concept, Sam. Last name, we're gonna pretend we're from Australia. We're gonna put this wonderfully structured message right here, submit. And why should you work with us? I mean, it's obvious. I mean, look at this. If this doesn't make you smile, I don't know will. And I know you have questions. How did I get here? Well, I'm actually we got to get Agile certified, which helped a lot with the product planning, which is right here. Helped me actually structure the product planning flow chart, mock-up and wireframe. So this is the product planning right here. I did research on similar apps, the difference between those apps and what they strive on individually, and how I can implicate that on my app right here. And Jira helped me schedule them out, put them in a time box, if you will, of what time I really need to be finished, and which helped everything, because when it comes to the debugging process, at the end of the day, you couldn't really backtrack too bad. You could always catch up. And this is my flow chart right here. Full screen. It's my flow chart right here. Homepage, bio, contact, login, teacher, and courses. And this is the wireframe. As you can see, wireframe / mockup. This was the general idea, but as you can see, it changed a lot. But this was the homepage right here. And this is the student page right here. And if we go down here, this is the teacher's dashboard. That's all for my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Okay, does anybody have any questions for Sam?
Well, you
Okay.
know I'm gonna have something. Always have
Well, you didn't get off the mute fast enough.
Sam, I heard a lot of you guys talked about the Agile certification and learning to do things in an Agile thing. How is that different than maybe what you thought it was going to be when you first learned how to do this? Because Agile's relatively new. It's not how it was classically done. How is it different?
Well, it's time-based, so it makes you responsible, if you will. So that's the thing about it. It's really, you say strict. At the end of the day, if you don't meet it, you'll be somewhat disappointed. And even if you don't meet it, at the end of the day, you wouldn't be too late. So it was very beneficial. And actually, I applied it to my daily basis to meet my goals. So it was very helpful.
Good for you. Great, thanks.
Thanks, Dave. Okay, well, if nobody else has any questions, that concludes all of the presentations that we have this evening. So I'm going to have the students stay. If there's anybody that wants to stay and talk to students, I'm happy to do that. Or you all can go and enjoy the rest of your evening and reach out to me. Yes, Dave?
Oh, no, go ahead. I know you saw me click off mute.
No,
Go
no.
ahead.
I was just going to say, anybody can feel free to reach out to me. You all have my contact information, wilson@savvycoders.com. So does anybody want to stay? Dave, do you want to stay?
No, I've already connected with them all on LinkedIn and stuff. Sam, I didn't
Okay,
get your
great.
last name. Can I get your last name?
Yes, it's kind of mouthful, but it's Muikia.
All right, I need a spelling.
It's
Lori will get
MUI.
it. Lori will get it.
Yeah, I'll do it. I'll
right,
get it
thank
to you.
you.
I'm writing myself a note.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, I thank you all for coming. Students, please stay. I thank you all for coming, and I hope you enjoyed the presentations, and I hope to hear from all of you soon.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks,
Bye,
everybody.
everyone. Great job.
Thanks, everyone. Congrats.
Great job, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Nicole.
Bye, guys.
Looks like Melissa's still there. Okay, she's okay. Okay, so Casey. No, I am never ever gonna say again. And oh, let me stop recording.